name is Damali again. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for watching this video. Today, I'm going to talk to you about losses. And so many of us don't know that when we lose something that is important, we get affected by it emotionally and mentally. And I've worked with people sometimes, they never thought that it was important to grieve. And then 8 years later, 5 years later, they're stuck and they don't feel motivated by anything in life. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about that. And maybe you're going through a season right now. You have lost a job, you have lost a relationship that was very valuable to you. You have lost opportunities and you feel like you've wasted your life and you never get those opportunities back. And sometimes though you may feel like you've lost a loved one to death, grieving in a sense that the person was maybe sick or they didn't even get sick, they just accidentally died. And not knowing the process of grieving, you're feeling like something is wrong with you. So loss is a part of life. And I think sometimes I say to myself, but some of the things I wish I had known when I was a little younger. And I always say, I hope I would have listened, but I don't know. Because, when young people are in their stages of curiosity and developing and seeing the world, they don't want to be told because they are becoming themselves. And so there's a tendency to actually miss out on wisdom from people who have gone through life because you don't think that you need it. But anyway, when you think about your own personal journey of life, you are going to realize that you have lost so many things. Sometimes even the mere concept of moving. And I don't know if some of you have watched that movie Inside Out. And the little girl, they were moving to San Francisco and she didn't want to move. And she was very sad about the fact that she had to move. And maybe some of you are in the journey of moving. And especially when moving with kids, it's easy to assume that kids can easily adapt to whatever the environment may be and not accommodate their emotional well-being by preparing them for that move, and you just young them out and get them to move. And maybe you are young and your parents moved around, especially for people who have families that are in military, they are consistently moving around. And so if you don't realize that based upon people's different temperaments, some people don't adjust well to changes. Even if the change is good, they need to prepare for that change. And if they don't feel like they have prepared enough, they feel stuck, they feel it was unjust, they get angry, and they don't know that this is all going on. They just find themselves changed. And so in this life, it's better to start to assess your losses. And especially for those of you that may have like a relationship with God, um, you have to make sense of your losses sometimes in order to move past the losses. And for those of you who have lost loved ones and maybe you still feel stuck in the journey and you've never even maybe known how to grieve, what does it even look like? Do I need help? Or I should be okay? I should move on by this time. I should be okay. And not really knowing that you didn't probably process that grief so well and you're stuck in the cycle of it. The most important thing is to assess what your losses are. And it's easy for people to tell you, for example, if you lose a job, that, you find another job. You're qualified, you could easily find another job. And without realizing, even if that's true, you may feel like maybe the terms on which I would let go were not right. And you're trying to make sense of why it wasn't done right. You're in the shock that you lost your job. And then you're also figuring out ways you could have prevented that firing or what blame you could have contributed to it, in a sense, what your responsibility was in that problem. And that's grieving. The grieving cycle or the grieving process is not linear. And many people don't know how to grieve, or many people, when they experience grief, they try to run so fast from it so that they don't have to sit in that discomfort. They feel like, I shouldn't be weak like this. I shouldn't care this much. But sometimes even when you're grieving, it's an indication that this was something that was important to you. Because if it wasn't important, you wouldn't feel the way you feel. And it's not a bad thing. We are humans. We feel, we get wounded, we get hurt, we get scarred. And that's part of living life under the sun. So to assume that you're going to be different and this is not going to hurt you is very, very unrealistic. And so if you're probably in a journey of your own personal loss and nobody can relate, and this usually happens when you have lost a loved one to death, not many people are going to relate to your loss, not because they do not care, it's just that the value it has to you may not be the same as it had for somebody else. And if you don't know how to create grief, time or space for you to grieve, you're going to be very, very hard on yourself. And you may actually end up losing relationship because you're angry at them for not relating to what you're going through. And you may think that they're not your friends. You may think that they don't care about you. And sometimes this is growth areas where we can actually move past certain areas of our lives. My encouragement to you in all of this is that please do not despair or do not give yourself into a place of despair, in a sense of you can move past certain things, but you want to know how to continue to grow. You want to know how to continue to develop in your own journey. So it happens to everyone. You know, nobody can go out of this life without experiencing some form of loss. And it's only fair that you can start to identify what that is for you. And if you've never been to therapy, maybe this could be your own open door. In my services, one of the things I offer is grief counseling. And I also do have a course for people who have been in feeling stuck for long periods of time, not knowing how to move past those areas, which is I have a course called The Path to Purpose. And to be intentional in the way you live your life, that you at least you're making a difference with every decision you make, with every experience that you're going through, that is not just for the sake of going through something, but you're actually making meaningful choices out of those experiences so that you can grow and you can feel like you are fulfilled in your lifetime as opposed to feeling stuck. So um I know this is basically scratching the surface, but I'll just leave you with this, that when you're grieving, there, there are stages that you go through when your heart is in grief. You go through shock, and sometimes it's not, there is no time frame that you should be in shock for a month or two, a week or a year. You don't know that. Everyone is very different based off on your temperament, especially for those of you that are super in temperaments. There's a tendency to get stuck in grief because of the tenderness of your heart. And if you're not aware of the process, some people, I remember one time I lost somebody and I was in shock for like a year without realizing because I could not believe it. It was unbelievable. And a year and I'm still like, I can't believe this, you know? And when you go through shock, you also go through anger, you know, because you feel like this something that you like or something that you love, something that is important to you is taken away from you and there is nothing you can do. You're basically powerless and you want somewhere, somehow to find solutions or something, you want to find the answers to what you're going through. And as a result, you get angry. And if you don't know that it's a normal process of grieving, you're going to feel like something is wrong with you. You shouldn't be this angry. And so many people suppress it, or some people divert that anger into eating, into destructive behavior, not realizing it's part of the griefs. But if you know how to process it, you have healthy ways of dealing with that. Sometimes you do have people who go through numbness, and numbness is also part of grieving. You don't want to feel anything. You just want to pretend that it did not happen. You don't want to connect with it. I actually think that you shouldn't feel it. You just dissociate from it. And sometimes in the efforts of numbing it, some people dissociate from it. And sometimes you go through the beginning of like what you could have done, couldn't have done, blame yourself because you're trying to make sense of the loss, you know? and you go through this panic attack, sometimes anxiety, and then you go into this depression, just not motivated. It's like your life has literally changed and you'll never be the same again. And so to find hope again, to find meaning to life again, you gotta be very intentional in that journey. Otherwise, all of us can get stuck. So I'm inviting you to not only seek help if you've experienced some form of loss. It could be a relationship, it could be a job opportunity, it could be a loved one that you have lost, it could be a friendship, any form of loss, as long as it was important to you, your heart needs to grieve it. So if this is something that resonates with you, please feel free to reach out to me on my website, www.forerunnercounseling.com. You could get a free consultation, or you could actually book your schedule right up on the website. But there is help, and especially for those of you that have faith, sometimes we just spiritualize our grief and pretend like we are not humans, even if we are. We pretend like we don't get hurt by those things, but that's not necessarily true. So my encouragement to you, seek help. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, or even come to my other website and get the email newsletter where I keep updating up with different topics. So thank you again.